You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, how to get 30, how to get 20, 20, 20, how to get 20, 20, how to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. All right, so why don't we dive into this Jordan Love contract thing? Because even though we've kind of already talked about it, I really want to hammer home this point because it needs to be a larger part of the discourse. I really think I'm just kind of tired of the average per year conversation. The APY conversation, I think, is a stupid conversation. It's interesting. It's a big number. It's crazy. It's kind of the one that makes you go, it's the one that the media definitely wants us to talk about. And by media, I mean the agents who push this out to Ian Rappaport to make everyone go, oh, dang. The real question is percentage of the salary cap. What percentage of the cap is this person going to get? Now, there is a little caveat here, because if you look at it, the percentage of the cap has gone up. Why would the percentage of the cap go up just because the cap is going up? Well, that's because the percentage of the cap is spread over a number of years. And if the increase in the cap goes up every year, then you can increase the percentage of the cap because the percentage of the cap is going to go down, right? Mathematically, if there's bigger jumps every single year. So we are seeing not only bigger numbers, but bigger percentages. So just as an example here, Aaron Rodgers contracts, let me see how many I can find here. So where are we? Where did it go here? In 2013, wait, wasn't there another one in here? All right, here we go. In 2013, at the age of 29, Aaron Rodgers was given a contract, very well established, a Super Bowl winner at this point. He was given 17.8% of the cap. In 2018, at 34 years old, he was given 18.9% of the cap. His last contract wasn't just big in terms of the total numbers, in terms of the, 50 per year or whatever it ended up coming out to be. I think it was significantly more than that. But he was given 24.15% of the cap. It's actually the second highest, probably in NFL history. The numbers here only go back to 2011, but I doubt prior to 2011 it was higher. So, and again, the reason is because the jumps are actually becoming exponential. The growth is growing. But still, let's just leave that all aside because that's an additional piece of math that's going to be hard even if you are sitting down with a piece of pen and paper, much less asking just the average layman fan to play along with. The bottom line is I would rather the discourse be what percentage of the cap are we giving out to people. This Trevor Lawrence contract is a big reason why. Everybody keeps talking about the Joe Burrow contract, $55 million, the Joe Burrow contract, $55 million. Trevor Lawrence was given a contract, $275 over 5 years. It's the exact same contract as Joe Burrow. So, I mean, it's literally the Joe Burrow contract. Now, I don't know as far as, well, actually, we do have guarantees here. It's very similar, slightly less in terms of guarantees. Trevor, 142, Joe Burrow was 146.5. practical guarantees, 219 compared to 200. So, I mean, it's almost identical to the Joe Burrow contract with a little tiny bit less in terms of guarantees. There's a problem, though. The salary cap goes up. So the question for teams as far as how much they value a player, because that's the question. How much do we value Jordan Love? How much do we want to give him of our total salary? That's the whole question. Like, how much do you trust this guy is the question. Well, that's not done in terms of total value. It's done in terms of percentage of our total cap. And so when we look at it, if you look at average per year, if we sort by average per year, Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence are the two highest. Total value, 275. Those are the two highest in NFL history. Well, in terms of average per year, it is. Pat Mahomes was higher in total value. But whatever. APY, those are the two highest, right? Followed by Jared Goff at 53 and Justin Herbert at 52. And this is where even I was talking about, again, me improperly contributing to the conversation, and also why it would be better to go with percentage of the cap. What I've been talking about is everybody just gets that next highest number. Well, the problem even with that discourse is a lot of times you get these quarterbacks that don't deserve it, like Trevor Lawrence, to be honest. He doesn't deserve to be at the top. Well, he's not at the top. This is a way for them to kind of like play with the numbers. You can negotiate so that Trevor Lawrence gets that top dollar thing, right? So now the agent feels great. I got my guy top money. We all as fans sit here and go, how does Trevor Lawrence get that kind of, that's absurd. When in reality, the team doesn't care because they didn't give him 24.7% of the cap. They only gave him 21.5% of the cap. And as a percentage, and remember, these are all, this only goes back to 2011, and really we're only dealing with the last couple of years because the percentages are going up. That ranks 12th. He's the 12th highest paid quarterback. Actually, let me do active because I think I've got all-time going right now. Let's just look at active quarterbacks. He's the 10th highest paid quarterback in the NFL right now. Here are all the quarterbacks who are trusted more than him, who got a higher percentage of the cap than him at signing. Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray is 7th, then Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes is 5th, Lamar is 4th, Herbert is 3rd. That's the one that kind of scares me a little bit. Josh Allen is 2nd, and then Joe Burrow is number 1. When we just look at APY, we look at, oh man, Trevor Lawrence, highest paid quarterback. Like, that's crazy. He doesn't deserve it. It's weird. It just, the world makes more sense when you look at percentage of the cap. And here's the other thing, and this is what I've been talking about in terms of Jordan Love. I don't know how any of this discourse really moves the needle. Because when we're having a conversation, if I'm Brian Gutekunst, I'm looking at what percentage of the cap do I want to give Jordan Love. When news dropped that Trevor Lawrence got the 10th highest percentage, okay. And here's the thing, Jordan might get 55. I don't know that 55 is that massively unreasonable because what's the conversation we're having? If you knew that Jordan Love was the guy, if let's just say what he did in the second half, if he had done that for 2 to 3 years, let's say 3 years, he was able to do that sustainably, he would get the Joe Burrow contract. That doesn't mean $55 million. That would mean, so let's just run this back. We're in an alternate universe. And in this alternate universe, Aaron Rodgers was out after Jordan sat for like a year. Jordan comes in, he comes in what year would that be? 2021. That second half of the year, same thing, he dominated. So we got a half a year. 2022 and 2023, he absolutely shreds the league. He proves he can be the best quarterback in football. His contract would not be $55 million a year. If he gets the Joe Burrow contract, and remember, it might actually be higher because the percentages are going up. But let's just say we give him the same percentage as Joe Burrow got. Do you know what that number is? It's $62.5 million. Okay. So we believe he could possibly be Joe Burrow good without all the injury issues, which is even better, obviously. And so we want to sort of knock that down a little bit. We want to say, okay, we think you can be, but we want to see it for a little bit. So how much do we dock him? Do we give him like 20% of the cap, which is closer to like the Jared Goff deal in 2024? That would be $53 million. That's 20%, which would be 11th. Be the 11th highest paid quarterback. Again, in terms of how much of our cap we're willing to give you. There's also an interesting thing, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but the bottom line being there are a lot larger considerations than just looking at the APY. Ken Ingalls brings up another point. He says cash flows and cash hits for Trevor Lawrence should be reasonable for the Jaguars. They get to spread $275 over 7 years because he has 2 existing years on his contract. So it's 5 new years plus 2 existing, 7 total years. We can take $275 and spread it over 7 years. So, the expected hit against the cap over those 7 years is going to be significantly less than even what most people would get when they're getting a new contract like Jordan Love. So in other words, if you were to put Trevor Lawrence in the same situation as Jordan Love, meaning this is the final year of his contract, he would not have gotten 55. He maybe would have gotten, again, the 53 or something. So Lawrence was in a more desirous situation. Again, I think that the biggest annoyance that I have, and I understand that there is some impact from the stance of optics, but the biggest annoyance I have is when people look at the APY and they go, well, price went up. No, there's no reason in my mind for the price to go up. They threw Trevor Lawrence, who's in a different situation with 2 existing years, 21.53% of the cap. Joe Burrow got 24.47. I mean, what percentage do you think we're looking at anyways? I mean, Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence's contracts, who are very similar, 20.75% and 21.5%, which comes to $53 and $55 million. Those are the 2 big contracts that we've seen so far. Cousins also has a contract that's worth 17.62% of the cap, which was $45 million per year. Do you know who's sandwiched in between those 3 quarterbacks is Daniel Jones? Should we give him the Daniel Jones contract? That would be 17.79%. That would be $45.5 million, which again, everybody kind of freaked out about that. Like, I can't believe how much Daniel Jones got. It's like, okay, well, he's sitting 13th right now of active quarterbacks. And hilariously, how many of these guys after him actually got contracts? I mean, Zach Wilson is at $8 million. He's 21st. Jordan Love, not really got a contract. Like Geno, but he got, I think, backup money and then just became a starter. I'm sure he's going to get higher pay. It's really like Baker that's the lowest paid. If you look at guys that actually got contracts, it's Baker, then Aaron Rodgers, because of course he took a big pay cut to be with the Jets, interestingly enough, then Carr, then Cousins, then Daniel Jones. I mean, those guys are at the bottom. If you're just looking at guys that actually got contracts, these are the lowest contracts. And again, I think Baker was kind of, these are all different situations. I think Daniel Jones is kind of the floor. And Daniel Jones got, we're going to pay you, but you suck money, which in today's money is $45 million. I don't think Jordan goes that low. But I also don't think he gets the Joe Burrow contract, which again is $62.5 million. So anyways, as far as this contract goes, if I'm looking at these guys, because again, I think Herbert is a little bit more of the guy that I'm looking at here. So again, this is something that would be better visually, but I'll do my best to, talk you through it. If we look at this era-adjusted career ELO, we talked a little bit about ELO. We don't use it probably enough. It's just another metric like EPA or whatever that is has got a pretty solid track record of demonstrating how good somebody is. If we put, for example, Herbert, Love, and Lawrence together, everything kind of makes sense. If we go back to our contracts here, Herbert is the 3rd highest percentage in the NFL. He's the 3rd highest paid based on percentage. He got 23.35% of the salary cap when he got his $52.5 million in 2023. Trevor got 21.5%. He ranks 10th. If you look at the ELO, that tracks. Justin Herbert, so it's really just well, we do have actual values here, but if we look at, for example, ELO per game, that might be the best way to look at it. Herbert is the highest at 57. Lawrence is at 6.2. Love is at 37. So he's kind of like right in between. But interestingly enough, if you actually look at the chart, because it's over the course of games, and certain guys go up and certain guys don't. Lawrence is pretty much flatline because from day one, he was at, let's call it about 500 on this chart. He actually tracked negative for several games, all the way through like his, let's say, 15th game, flatlined, and then slowly started to come back. He's bounced back after about 50 games, actually exactly 50 games played, and he's about leveled out to where he started. Now, he is trending up, so there's reason to believe he'll continue to get better, but that's kind of where he's at. He's sitting at probably close to 0, which, again, 6.2. Jordan Love is at 37, which is a lot less than Justin Herbert, but Herbert has played a lot more games. If you look at their lines, they almost run exactly next to each other, with Jordan Love just slightly below him. Their lines are trending in the exact same direction, meaning Jordan Love is looking very similar to Justin Herbert compared to Trevor Lawrence, just maybe ever so slightly less. So the 37-57-6 thing doesn't necessarily work because you're looking at sort of the trend line more so than where everybody is right this second. Jordan Love is trending in the same direction as Trevor Lawrence. So then you look at it and say, okay, so if we were to extend these lines out, let's say Herbert would be like 57, Jordan would probably be around, 52 or something, and Lawrence would get up to, 20 or something. First thing we could do is apply that to this and just kind of come up with some rough numbers. So if Trevor is 21% and Herbert is 23%, obviously that gap is not that big. The middle road is 22.5, but remember, he's significantly closer to where Herbert is than where Lawrence is. So let's just call it 23% even. That means, and again, what we're assuming is, let's say they've all been playing their entire careers. We'll adjust later, but if we were giving him a fair contract, if those all panned out, he'd be sitting at about 58.7, call it $59 million. Maybe even a little bit more because he's closer to Justin Herbert than maybe even that, but that's pretty close to the Herbert contract. It would be, let's call it $59 million. But we have to kind of adjust down, right? He's showing that he's worth about $59 to $60 million based on his play, based on his ELO trajectory, based on what we're seeing. He's looking like a Justin Herbert type of guy. Possibly even more so because obviously in the second half of the year, it's taken a sharp uptick, which if it continues at that trajectory is going to cross above Herbert. But let's just leave that aside. Let's just say he continues to trend just below him, whatever. So we're looking at $59 million. But we don't really know. So we want to take it down a little bit. What do you take it down to? Oh, I don't know. How about 55? I mean, really, again, that might seem like a massive number. It's not. That's going to make him, and again, let's eliminate guys that are, that don't really have their contracts or whatever. We'll eliminate Geno. You've got 17 quarterbacks that you're comparing against. And 55 would put him tied for 10th. And it would actually be 18 because Jordan Love would come into that conversation. So of 18 quarterbacks that actually got big boy contract, he would be 10th. It's a middle-of-the-pack contract. It's not a good contract. It's not a top-tier contract. Trevor Lawrence got a contract. Baker Mayfield got a BS contract. He's at the bottom. Or Geno, if you want to include him in that. By the way, Jordan Love is next. He hasn't even gotten a contract yet, after Geno. So you could almost eliminate Baker Mayfield. You can kind of eliminate Aaron Rodgers, because that's kind of an unfair thing, because he was already getting paid based on all that other stuff. So really, Derek Carr would be like the lowest. And the contract that he got in 2023 was 16.68%. That would be 15, add another one at 16 quarterbacks. So it would be 10th out of 16 if he gets 55. It's not top. It's below average. If there's 16, that means 8 would be middle of the pack. 8th is Deshaun Watson. He got 22%. A middle of the pack contract is $56.4 million. That's middle of the pack. 56 is middle of the pack. That's like a dead average, like, okay, not bad. That if he got 56, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow would all have bigger contracts. Not in terms of actual total money, but in terms of how much the team actually committed to this person. Because again, the total money conversation is going to be stupid by next year. By next year, people are going to be eclipsing him, and we know that. So why do we have this stupid conversation? We talk about, oh, it's so amazing, and then in 5 years, it's like, oh, I can't believe how underpaid he is. He needs a new contract. Same amount of money, same APY. That's why we shouldn't use it. We shouldn't be looking at it. Look at percentage of cap. And again, even the percentages go up. So even all the numbers I'm saying still have shifted slightly higher than what I'm saying, which means everybody that signed these contracts actually slightly lower. And again, there's all kinds of caveats in terms of the thing, even like Aaron Rodgers, right? With his contract being where it is, he's tied for 15th with Derek Carr. Yeah, well, that's kind of extenuating circumstance, blah, blah, blah. And really, again, we're likely to see some unusual looking contract. It's going to be one of those things. We're going to see the big number, and then we got to kind of wait and see how this thing is structured, probably because it's probably going to be structured pretty stupid. That may not be the case. Maybe they just trust him and they do something. They're just, they give him 20% and here you go. And Jordan's okay with it and everybody's fine with it. And again, that's to the Packers' favor. The fact that $55 million is sort of this like golden thing, when really that would put him below average. If Jordan's like, heck yeah, I'll take $55 million, you almost kind of go, really? Like, we don't have to give you a bump. We'll just give you 5 years for $55 million. You'll take that? You're not even going to look for like top of? You don't want to play at 50, a little bit less for like 2 years and then possibly get that actual Joe Burrow contract in a couple years, which by the time that comes around, we're talking like, what, $70 million? You want, okay, all right, fine, screw it. You just take the 55, I don't give a crap. There's nothing. There's bullcrap money. But I just want to change the way we look at it. And again, final thought here, does the Trevor Lawrence contract change things? I don't know how it does. The only thing I could think is, again, for the sake of optics, because the question isn't about the total per year money, it's how much of what percentage do we want to give a guy who's given us a half a year of elite play? So let's say they were looking at 20%, which is at the 53, they were looking at the Jared Goff 53 thing. Trevor Lawrence comes along, gets 55. Does it make that big of a difference? It makes almost no difference. They're right next to each other. It's 20.75% compared to 21.5%. There's almost no difference there. But it's possible for the sake of optics. They're like, hey, if Lawrence gets 55, we want 55. And it's like, bro, come on. And it has more to do with the agent and his reputation than anything else. But even the bottom line is the agent. I think the NFL and the agents and the teams, they know a lot more than we do. I think they're all well aware of roughly what Trevor Lawrence was going to get. So if they were willing to do a deal for $53 million for Jordan, I don't know that Trevor Lawrence moves the needle because Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott are going to get higher contracts than that. Dak Prescott's last contract was almost 22%. I'm guessing, and it's the same exact agent, by the way, that he knows that the negotiations are going to be higher for Dak than, I'm not saying than Jordan necessarily, but in the hypothetical scenario where he's at, the Jared Goff number, Dak's number is going to be above 55. Not much above, but above. Right? We already looked at 22. So you already know it's coming, so what's the big deal? Because it came out before, you want to be able to make a big announcement? Okay, so what's going to happen when Jordan Love gets his contract and everybody celebrates it, and then everybody else starts getting these bigger contracts closer to 60, and it gets dwarfed? Are you an idiot now? Are you a crap agent? Are you less of a crap agent? I mean, you understand what the landscape is going to be. That's what you're fighting about. You want to, when the dust clears, be at this level. I mean, I just think the perception we have that these numbers are coming out and it changes things is silly. You think nobody knew that Lawrence was going to get about 55? These are the agents. These are the same guys that are working out these deals. They already know these numbers. Largely because, again, we can estimate the numbers with websites like SpotTrack and whatnot. Why? Well, because we fully understand that there has been, it's like real estate. You can estimate how much a house is going to go for. How? Comps. You got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that's this many square feet. Look in the same neighborhood for a similar style house that was built around the same year, same bathrooms, same bedrooms. That's roughly how much this house is going to go for. We act like it's just the Wild West, like some agent just, he crushed it. He got 55 for that crap quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. That's crazy. That shifted everything, man. That shifts the whole landscape. No, it doesn't. He got the 10th highest contract. Congratulations. What does that shift? So suffice it to say, that's the prism I'm going to be looking at this through once all these contracts come out, right? So, for example, Dak Prescott is about to get a contract. I was just looking at this. Dak Prescott could actually move down on his ranking depending on how much money he makes, even if he makes more money. So if Dak Prescott was sitting at $40 million a year. If he goes up and gets the $55 million a year contract, that's a huge pay raise. And don't get me wrong, I understand the players care about the actual money. Of course, but that's not the question from the standpoint of what we're talking about. Anyways, if he gets $55 million, gets a big pay bump, he actually moves down in terms of how much the team is actually giving to him. It was more painful back in 2021 to give him 40 than it is in 2024 to give him 55. Not by much, it's about the same, but he would technically move down. It would be a lesser contract than what he got the last time. So while 99.99% of people will say, oh, Dak just got a major pay raise, or if it was 53 or whatever, I'm looking at that going, not so much, Chief. And of course, that'll be the prism I look at the Jordan Love contract. We'll look at him compared to other contracts as a percentage. And even though there are even deeper contexts, I'm content just looking at from this standpoint. And of course, again, we have to look at things like total guarantees. We have to look at the actual structure of the contract. Is it 5 years, 4 years? Is it in reality closer to 2 years? Whatever. That'll be a little bit more interesting. Certainly more interesting than the social media commentary of, well, there goes everything. We're all screwed now. It's just not the most interesting conversation. Anyways, why don't we go ahead and take a break? We'll just probably do one break today because I got a little yappy on that. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You know, in the hobby, it's not easy of being a fan of ripping packs or repacks. We always hype ourselves up thinking we're going to get some kind of a mint signed Jordan Love card or something. But with zero transparency on available cards and hit rates, it's all just a shot in the dark. That is until now. Introducing slab packs from arenaclub.com, the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Now when I buy slab packs on Arena Club, I finally feel like I know what I'm getting. I don't know if you saw the video me and my son did. That was us on arenaclub.com looking for new cards for my kid. Still on our YouTube channel. You should check it out. They have an incredible website. Slab packs are way better than mystery packs. Immediately after your pulls, they put your cards safe in a vault. So whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club's got the card collection platform that you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/packdaddy. That is a crazy offer. 10% off a $400 slab pack. That's $40 right there. Anyways, that's arenaclub.com/packdaddy for 10% off your first purchase. What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead. Take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
If you're an athlete, you know the greatest motivator of all is the fear of letting your teammates down. After all, a team is only as good as its weakest link. So you owe it to those wearing the same jersey as you to be your best every time you step on the field. That's why there's no vape in team. When you vape, you can expose your lungs to toxic chemicals that can damage your lungs. If you're a step behind, the team's a step behind. Brought to you by The Real Cost and the FDA.
Now's the time to save 30% on wedding jewelry, only on BlueNile.com. Make sure your wedding ring is the one with your pick of diamond and lab-grown diamond bands, all hand-finished and graded for excellence. Or surprise her with something blue she'll love for life, like a stunning pair of sapphire earrings. Blue Nile's jewelry experts are available 24/7 to help, from fit questions to style advice. Right now, get up to 30% off at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
As I sit here thinking about it, you probably can never just leave things be. There's probably a way to actually create a metric for how valuable a contract is. Because like I said, there's still all these additional variables. Like if you look at Lawrence's contract, it's actually over 7 years and whatnot. If you were to look at, if you were to plug in expected salary cap numbers, we don't exactly know, but they have expected 2025, 2026. If you plug that in based on what the expected or the structure of the contract is, you can see kind of what the numbers look like. Maybe just average out those numbers, the percentages. Because again, if let's say Jordan Love gets a $55 million contract, which is, what did we say that was, 21 something, 22, I don't care. That's not going to be the cap hit this year, and it's not going to be next year. And by the time it actually maybe even gets to that number, the cap will have gone up enough that it's still not going to be 20% of the salary cap. So anyways, it doesn't matter. That's another project for another day. All right. I'm really mad at myself because I cannot find this freaking video that I've been talking about. Did somebody send it to me? I don't know. I'm annoyed. I can't find it. Let's just dive into it anyways. One of the other things that annoys me about the Jordan Love discourse, we talked yesterday, not just the contract today, but yesterday about stable metrics, where everybody was very wrong about that. But the other one is the discussion about Jordan Love and how long of a period of time do we attribute to his success, right? The reason I wanted to play this one video is because the guy made a comment about he played 5 good games. 5 good games. Okay, again, first of all, even if he only played 5 good games, via PFF, he ranked 9th as far as his passing grade goes. 9th highest graded passer. But let's get beyond that for a second. First of all, is it even true that he played 5 good games? Let's see. Week 9, he had an 83 grade against LA. Week 10, 74 against Pittsburgh. Week 12, 87 against Detroit. Week 13, 92 against Kansas City. Week 16, 77 against Carolina. Week 17, 91 against Minnesota. Week 18, 83 against Chicago. And then in the wild card game, a 93 PFF grade against Dallas. So in no way is the statement that he had 5 good games correct. I listed off 8 games. Now, technically, he didn't have 5. He only had 2 good games, Pittsburgh and Carolina. But he had 3 great games, LA, Detroit, and Chicago, and 3 elite games, Kansas City, Minnesota, and Dallas. But in no universe did he only have 5 good games. I mean, I guess if we take out elite and just use the 70s and 80s, yeah, he had 5 good games. 5 good to very good games. Obviously, this is a stupid discussion. It's a throwaway line, but there's an even bigger issue here. C.J. Stroud gets credit for a whole season. Why? Is it because he played really well in every game the entire season? The guy, by the way, that ranked 14th as far as his passing grade is concerned. He had a lower passing grade, a lower overall grade than Jordan Love. But anyways, C.J. Stroud, did he play well in every single game? 50 against Baltimore, 60 against Indy, 50 against New Orleans, 60 against Carolina, 50 against Denver, 40 against the Jets, 60 against Tennessee, 62 against Baltimore. Did he play really good in every single game? No, he did not. So why does he get credit for a whole season and Jordan Love gets credit for 5 games or a half a season? I don't understand. Are we talking about from the moment... Are we talking about how many good games, or are we talking about from the moment that he became kind of good, which would be week 9? If you do that, it's not 5 games. It's not 9 games. It's not even a half a season. It's 12 games. 12 out of, I believe, 19. That's more than half. Let's be very specific about what we're talking about here. It's not 5 games. It's not just the second half. It's not the last quarter. It's 12 out of 19 games. And to be even more specific, he wasn't really bad in every single game before that. In fact, prior to that, he only had 1 game that was below a 60. That was against Las Vegas. But that includes his 3-touchdown game against Chicago, his 3-touchdown game against Atlanta. several comeback wins. Remember, in a lot of those games, he sucked in the first half and came back and dominated in the second half. Now, I'm not saying he was great in those games, but to pretend that he was complete garbage is kind of silly. In fact, if we compare it to C.J. Stroud, how many games did each person have in the 40s? Jordan Love, 0. C.J. Stroud, 1. How many games in the 50s? Jordan Love, 3. C.J. Stroud, 3. How many games in the 60s? Jordan Love, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. C.J. Stroud, 1, 2, 3, 4. 70s, C.J. Stroud had 3. Jordan Love had 2. 80s, Jordan Love, 3. C.J. Stroud, 5. How many games in the 90s? C.J. Stroud, 1. Jordan Love, 3. If we just talk about how many good games did each person have? Jordan Love had 8. I thought it was 9. Did I say 9? It's 8. C.J. Stroud had 9. That's the big difference. That's why C.J. Stroud is a known commodity, 100% done deal, way better than Jordan Love, and that's why Jordan Love is a unknown thing, because C.J. Stroud had one more good game. By the way, I kind of trust Jordan Love a little bit more. Do you know why? Because if we're really saying that Jordan Love doesn't really start until week 9, and C.J. Stroud is credited with a whole season, and that's supposed to be to his credit, that kind of works to his detriment. Because in an entire season, C.J. Stroud had 9 good games. Starting in week 9, Jordan Love had 8 good games. As a percentage, Jordan Love significantly better. In fact, if we just look, how many, since Jordan Love turned it on, how many games in the 40s? 0. How many in the 50s? 2. How many in the 60s? 1, 2. 4 games. Everything else, 70s, 80s, and 3 games in the 90s. Again, C.J. Stroud only had 1 of those. Jordan Love had 3 in a quote-unquote half a season. Again, if you want to use this whole half a season thing against him, it kind of works to his benefit as well. Understand that if you want to only credit him for a half a season, that's fine. But if you're saying that that half a season is who Jordan Love is, understand that you're saying that Jordan Love is top 2 quarterback in the NFL. If you want to credit him for the whole season and say, no, the whole season is closer to who he actually is, fine, then give him the whole season. Stop saying he only had 5 good games or whatever nonsense you're talking about. He did not only have 5 good games. By the way, Matt Stafford only had 8 good games also. Tua only had 10. In reality, I mean, if you look at a lot of the top quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud is one of the worst. Him and Stafford are some of the worst in terms of only having about a half of a good season and the other half being average to lesser. I mean, Jordan Love obviously fits in that category, but remember, the first 8 games supposedly don't count. So he's not in that category. He's up with the other guys that are more consistent. C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, and Matt Stafford are the only ones I've seen with 8 or 9-ish. A lot of the other guys, 12, 13, 14 good games in a season. Stroud, I don't know, man. It's not looking too good for C.J. here. I mean, when he was good, he was real good. But let's see, you got a 3-game stretch, which is sandwiched between 4 subpar games, then a 4-game stretch, then 3 rough games, then 2-game stretch, and then in the playoffs having kind of a down game. I don't know, man. It's one of the most inconsistent seasons for a quote-unquote good quarterback of any of the quarterbacks. Again, Love didn't have that. Starting in week 9, no, very, very consistent every single week, much like Mahomes and Josh Allen and those types of guys. I guess I just wish that people knew what the hell they were talking about before they started running their mouth. I mean, if you want to say, I don't trust Jordan Love or I don't think Jordan's going to be top 5 or what, that's fine. I really don't care what the opinion is. Just try to make somewhat of an intelligent argument. I mean, even yesterday we heard on that Paul Farrington, the Vikings podcast, the guy, he claimed on there, he said, I didn't put Jordan Love top 10 or something to that effect. And somebody in the comment section said, oh, he's definitely top 10. And he said, well, I had to kind of sit back and think about it. And I realized, it's like, no, don't think about it. Go look it up. Go actually do the work. And how about this? No offense. Seems like a great guy. His channel's doing significantly better than mine probably ever will, because I don't put anything on it. But I mean, I like them. But I mean, guys, come on. Don't start just making videos. And maybe that is what you're supposed to do. Just make videos without looking stuff up. But don't make videos with opinions without actually even trying to formulate an opinion. And I'm not talking about with your gut. That's what Matt Ramage and I were talking about yesterday. Everybody's favorite metric is GF, gut feeling. And one of the things I wanted to say afterward, because I said about 99% of people use GF as their number one metric, I was wrong. It's probably 50-50 between GF and FF. GF being gut feeling, and FF being fantasy football. That's it. That makes up, those two things probably combined for 99%. Those two quote-unquote statistics probably make up 99% of how people formulate their opinions on players. Gut feeling, which, is probably influenced by social media and national media and everything else, but we'll just call it GF. And fantasy football. I had that guy on my team and he sucked. I don't know. You don't know what you're talking about. Or I played that guy in fantasy and he shredded me. You don't know what you're talking about. Packers don't have any wide receivers. How do you know? Because nobody wanted them in fantasy football. You must be an idiot. Good Lord, people. I mean, really think about where you get your information from. And if that's where it is, just stop and go, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have an opinion on this stuff. Or at least I should understand the severe limitations on my opinion and not go into these arguments so strong. Maybe go in, and I've seen some people do this where it's like, help me understand, because like in fantasy football, these guys are really not desirable. And then we can have a conversation about it and be like, oh, that makes sense. And I guess it depends how you want to gauge it, if you're talking cumulative stats or whatever. But I tend to look at it at da-da-da. We can have a conversation, but don't just come in freaking Rambo style, guns a-blazing, because of fantasy freaking football, dude. And in this case, it's not even. This is where people outside of, and especially, again, the guy that I'm referring to that I want to just point my guns at, full blast, hypothetically, calm down, is this guy that sat there with a 49ers hat on and just hated Jordan Love. And it's like, you know what? Go get some just defend it. Come up with a criteria of what makes a quarterback good, and then go and defend it. Then go apply it to the quarterbacks and see where they fall. Do it before you look at the quarterbacks. Don't try to twist the numbers. Don't just find stats at, Jordan Love, he was bad at completion percentage. I'm going to use completion percentage. You're a freaking idiot. Don't say things like he only had 5 good games when that's not true. Again, it was 8, and even if you want to play the how many good games game, it's about the same as C.J. Stroud. So what are we talking about? And if you want to say, yeah, but C.J. Stroud played... You can't even say played well, because they had the same number of good games, but C.J. Stroud did it over a whole year and Jordan Love did it over a half a year. Okay, how does that work in C.J. Stroud's benefit? I don't mean to hate on C.J. Stroud. It's really impressive what he was able to do, but it's a little annoying to have the conversation essentially be, look, C.J. Stroud, top 5, done. What he did was amazing. Jordan Love, he had a couple good games. And again, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about rationalization and choosing to forget. When you're in the moment, when you see what he did week 9 and you go, wow, that was different, and then he does it again week 10, and then he does it against Detroit, and then he does it against Kansas City, and you're actually experiencing it, and the conversations are happening, and you're watching it, everybody remembers. But you start to forget in the offseason. And you forget apparently to the point where you start saying things like, well, it was only 5 games and it was only a little bit of time and we don't have enough of a sample size. And I don't necessarily hate that argument, but we have to actually come face to face with what we're looking at and go, okay, it was a 12-game sample size where he was very consistent over those 12 games. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL in those 12 games. It was one of the best, I guess you would say, 11-game stretches, because obviously San Francisco, you can include it. But if you want to just talk about where he was good, it was an 11-game stretch. When you talk about 390s, you're going to be hard-pressed to find any quarterback that's had a stretch that was that good. And beyond that, it's going to be really, really hard to find bad quarterbacks that had stretches that were that good. You can find bad quarterbacks that look good in this instance or that instance, right? Foles is not an elite quarterback, but he had those 2 good games in the postseason and whatnot where he graded in the 90s and stuff. But are you ever going to find a guy that had a 12-game stretch where he was able to put up what Jordan Love did over that large of a sample size? We talk about small sample size, and technically it is. But when you talk about consistently elite play, I don't think bad quarterbacks can play that consistently elite for that long. I just don't think it's humanly possible, especially when you're talking about year 1. Year 1 of the guy starting. It took until week 9. And remember, it's not just Jordan Love. It's not how long did it take for Jordan Love to figure it out. Because remember, although Jordan definitely struggled, it wasn't just Jordan. And I had a lot of people screaming at me on Packernet After Dark about how a lot of this is the receiver's fault and a lot of this is Matt LaFleur's fault. And I, to this day, disagree with a lot of it. I think Jordan Love was a major issue, but it's not wrong. Guys not running the right routes, seeing two guys in the same spot and all this nonsense. And Matt LaFleur didn't know how to utilize the offense to its best and all that. All that stuff doesn't help Jordan. Similar to what we talked about with Rodgers, where it's difficult when you don't trust the guy's going to be in the right spot. It causes hesitation and all these kinds of things. All these things are true. True for Jordan as well. So the bottom line is, all I'm saying is it's not hard to understand why it took a while for things to kind of get meshed together, not just for Jordan to figure it out, but for Jordan and Matt LaFleur to figure it out together in conjunction with the offensive line figuring out how to play with Jordan, with the receivers and tight ends who are all young extremely young, like rookies, on top of injuries where we lose this guy, and now we have to learn how to play with Wicks, and now we have to learn how to play with Bo Melton, and now we just got Musgrave humming and he gets injured. Now we got to figure out how to play with Kraft. It was a complete cluster. You're telling me you can't understand why it was a little bit rocky until week 9? I think it makes perfect sense. And I also think you're going to be hard-pressed to find any quarterback that's not very good that had a stretch the way Jordan Love did. Again, you can make the case, and I'd listen to it. And I've said numerous times on this podcast, I don't know that he's going to be good. I don't. But I'm trying to be objective, and I'm trying to look at this, and I'm trying to say what's more likely. Number one, that second half 11 to 12 game stretch was a fluke. Or number two, that second half stretch is more or less how good Jordan Love is and how good this offense is. And it just took him a few weeks to kind of get things figured out. I'm definitely leaning toward, it's real. And bringing this full circle back to the contract, I think we're going to find out. We're going to find out the confidence level of the Packers in what they saw. Not that it matters, but we'll find out very soon. And like I've said before, if I was the GM, what would I do? I'd want to go a little bit on the lower end, whether that's 53 or whatever that means. I know that doesn't seem low, but whatever. And just make the case, like, let's structure this in such a way, maybe some lower guarantees or whatever, where, in 2 years we can revisit this. A very backloaded contract where we're going to want to restructure and all that after 2 years, and then we can put you at the top. However, if you're asking me what I want Gutekunst to do, I want Gutekunst to give him a big boy contract with a lot of guarantees. Why? Because it means that they're confident in him, and that's going to help me in my ability to be confident. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. If you find that video, man, please send it to me. I just want to play it. I did it. I exhausted it. We talked about it, but I just want to play it because it just ticked me off, and I'm upset that I didn't save it anywhere. All right, I'm out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.